To make our profile page look just a bit better, we're going to wrap everything with a box. That's essentially just a div coming from Material UI. So of course we have to import a few things. So at the top, we can say import typography. We're going to also need a button and finally a box. That's coming from add MUI material. From React, we're going to later on use the use effect. We already have the use selector and we need just one icon, which is going to be exit to app. And that's coming from MUI and then icons material. Great. Now inside of here, we're going to have that box. Inside of that box, we're going to have one more box. The inner box is going to have a display equal to flex and also justify content equal to space dash between. Then we're going to have a typography. That typography is going to be of a variant equal to h4. It's going to have a gutter bottom, which simply means some margin on the bottom, and there we can say my profile. Finally, below that, we're going to show a button. And that button is going to have a color equal to inherit. And on click, it's going to call the logout function. We can create that function right now. Const logout is going to be a basic arrow function. And this button is going to say simply logout. Then we can add that space in between by saying and NBSP, basically just a space, and then we can show that icon exit to app. And this is going to be our button. Now, you might be wondering, how are we actually going to do the logout? And the answer might be simpler than you think. We simply need to clear the local storage. And we can do that by saying local storage, either remove item, so we can call the remove item for all three of them, or we can simply say clear. This is going to clear the entire local storage. And finally, we need to reload the page by saying window.location.href is going to be just slash. That's going to be it. Finally, below our first inner box, we're going to add a check, and we're going to check if no favorite movies. That favorite movies is right now just going to be a dummy array. So we can say const favorite movies is going to be an empty array, let's say. And we can say if no favorite movies dot length, meaning if there isn't a single favorite movie, in that case, we want to show something. And that something is going to be a simple typography. And we can put a variant to be equal to h5. In there, we can say add favorites or watch list some movies to see them here. Great. And then below that, we can say, or in that case, we want to render out the box. So we can put a box here. And then here, we want to display the favorite movies. Right now, we don't have any. Later on, we're going to implement the functionality to add movies to favorites. So let's fix this syntax error here, and we should be good. So we just need a question mark here, and that's it. We're showing this if we don't have any. And if we do, we're showing the favorite movies. Let's go ahead and check it out in the browser. There we go. This already looks much better. My profile, add favorites or watch list some movies to see them here, and here is our logout button. Of course, we cannot yet display any movies here because we don't have the functionality to add them to the favorites. And to be able to do that, we have to go to a movie information of a specific movie to add them to the favorites. So we're kind of stuck here. This is going to be all that we're going to do in regards to the profile. The only thing we can do is log out and see if that works. And indeed it does. We're logged out, we can log in again. So the login functionality is now fully done. Our next step is going to be to implement the movie information page. Before we finish up this lecture, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what we've done in regards to the authentication. So I'm going to close everything and let's just open up the files that have something to do with auth. And I'll try to explain it as simply as possible. So first things first, we're starting in the navigation bar. This is where we click the login button. We click the login button and we go to the fetch token function. You can do the control click and then it's going to lead you immediately to that function. That function is under utils folder, meaning a utility function. And don't think of it as anything special. It's just a basic function. Actually, it's an async function that's going to make a GET request to authentication token new. That's going to create the authentication token. We're getting the token right here. And then, if it is successful, we're setting it to local storage and redirecting to the authentication page. Then the user is going to be authenticated. He or she is going to approve. And then we're going to go back to our navigation bar. There, we're looking for changes in that same token right here. Once token updates, recall the login user function. Then we're checking, does the token exist? If the user approved, most likely yes. So we're getting into here, but then we're checking, does the session ID exist? The answer is most likely going to be no, because we just logged in. So we are yet to create that session. So that's exactly what we're doing with this create session ID. Right here is our function. We get the request token. If there is a token, we simply want to make a post request to create a new authentication session. Then we store it to local storage. Once we do that, we get a session ID here. And then finally, we can get the user data and dispatch the function to set the user to be in our entire application state. Once we set that user to the state, we can then use this user whenever we want. Great. That's going to be all that there is to authentication. I know it might have been a bit complicated, but hopefully you went through it. Our next job is going to be just a bit simpler, and that is to implement that movie information page. It's mostly going to be dealing with Material UI, so if you like that part, you're going to enjoy this one. So one more time, great job. Now we can take a bit of a break, and then I'll see you in the next lecture.